government. Not just black people. All right, if you believe that there is an inadequacy in housing, join us in the mainstream and fight for better housing. If you believe that there is a lack of jobs, join us and fight for a lack of jobs. And I tell you, you should all join together and make sure that Neil Kinnock and our Labour Party become the next government. Thank you very much.
Comrades, I can't call any more. I've got no time. Joe Richardson, on behalf of the National Executive. Joe Richardson. Sorry, comrades, I've got no time to call any more. It's just run out of time. As good as I am, I can't make time expand. I'm sorry, comrade. No, comrade, not just now. Go on, then.
Mr. I must put right the mover after 53 amendment. If he looks on the agenda, the resolution 44 come from West Yorkshire, Cornwall, and that's a long way from London.
Okay, thank you, comrade, for putting that right. Joe Richardson.
Comrade Chair, comrades. Yesterday in his speech to conference, Neil Kinnock made a reference to outlawing racism in our society and to ending discrimination and disadvantage which black people suffer. And that evoked a warm and sympathetic response from conference. Yet black people might feel that they can't have real faith in our declared commitment to racial equality, and we're not in a position to preach to others, while black people remain only as our loyal, and they are, supporters and rank-and-file members, but don't necessarily have any meaningful voice in decision-making, and certainly not in leading positions. The argument is much the same as for women. Black people who support Labour in overwhelming numbers, and without whom many Labour MPs would not be in Parliament, must share power in our party. The number of black delegates to conference, the number of black councillors, as we've heard, and the number of black parliamentary candidates has been growing. And it has meant that some white people, especially white men who currently monopolize it, have their power taken from them. I believe that even with the present system, with no change and with no working party, we will eventually see black NEC members and black MPs. And maybe, Eric, at some stage week, a black person in the chair. Some people, mainly outside the party, I believe, say, why should we do it? Why should we want it? What's in it for us? Why should we seek to remove obstacles to participation and to black involvement? Well, I tell you, I think there's a lot in it for the Labour Party, and I don't especially mean votes. We need, comrades, the involvement of black people to ensure a sound understanding of what it means to be black, and to implement effective policies to counteract the racial discrimination and the racial disadvantage that leaves black people very often as the poorest members of our society. The presence of black people within our ranks, especially in the higher ranks, the decision-making ranks, will enrich us and will ensure that the party as a whole is more responsive to the needs of black people and gives them greater political priority. Just as it's unacceptable for men to preach to women about what they perceive to be our oppression, it is unacceptable for white people to preach to blacks about their struggle. Black people must themselves play a central role in the party, in its organization, in its policy making, and its campaigning. We white people don't always know best. I believe that black people often know best for themselves. I don't think there are many people in this hall today who would disagree with those sentiments. But what I know we do disagree about, and it's been evidenced today, is how to achieve these changes and this greater involvement in the party. You will know from the interim NEC statement before you that I chair the NEC Working Party on Positive Discrimination within the party. It has, over the last months, concentrated on producing the consultative paper, Black People and the Labour Party, which was on your chairs this morning, and I hope you've all got a copy of it and will take it away with you. The decision to draft that document was not an attempt to fob off black people in the party. I don't think that the representatives on the Working Party, from black sections and from the Labour Party Race Action Group would have put up with that. But we realise that we are ignorant of what ordinary party members feel and ignorant of what local parties have been doing to increase black membership and to involve black members more fully. And we also believe that many party members are ignorant of the arguments for and against black sections, more black involvement within our ranks. We also need educating about it, and that's why we put out the consultative document. We don't know how successful or unsuccessful local parties have been in involving black people. We don't know how successful the informal black sections set up by several parties have been. Although I think that the booklet produced by the Vauxhall party is a very useful one. We don't even know, comrades, how many black people we've got in the party. That's why the consultative paper has been distributed to you, and that's why we urge you to let us have your views, your ideas, and your experiences. I hope every delegate in this hall will ensure that the consultative document is taken back. It will be sent to CLPs directly and is discussed at branch and at general committee level and within the trade union. We're particularly anxious to involve black members in these discussions because, after all, it's they who are affected most and they who best understand the deficiencies of the party in recruiting blacks. And then, most important, we want you to send us your views about black sections and about, and this is very important, all the other issues which we raise in the consultative document. We will then produce our report for next annual conference. Because the involvement of black people doesn't just depend on the creation of, or not, black sections. It also depends on working with black organizations at local level, keeping black people informed about what the party is doing, and giving black people the opportunity to express their views. Comrades, Composite Resolution number 51, whilst acknowledging the consultation we are asking for, wants a commitment from you now to set up black sections. I've learnt a lot from the chairing of the Working Party, and I hope to go on chairing the Working Party. The NEC asks you, because of the Working Party and because of the consultation, to remit Resolution 51. I'm bound to say that from the discussions that I've had so far, I'm already convinced that if people want them, they should have them, but only in that case. In the same way, Composite 52 goes a good deal further than Composite 51, and that also needs a lot of discussion and a lot of talk at branch and general committee level and elsewhere in the party. We also ask here for the movers to... Resolution 43, as you have heard, takes the entirely opposite point of view and opposes black sections. But could I emphasize here that nowhere, and not at any time in the document or anywhere else, has anybody ever suggested imposing anything on people. It will be entirely voluntary. But nevertheless, I ask in the same way Resolution 43 to be remitted so that the Working Party can have a look at everything. I hope comrades will agree to this, but whatever happens, the consultation process will go on. I say to white comrades, we have to face up to our prejudices. We have to face up to them, and they do exist. And we have to get rid of those prejudices. We can't pretend to be socialists, and we are a socialist party unless we do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Now, you've heard the
Summing up for the
recommendations
executive,
of the
Joe
NEC,
Richardson urging that
the NEC
all these
statement
three
should be
resolutions about
accepted.
black sections should be
I think I
remitted.
better
Those in
formally
favour
move
of
it.
black
Is that
sections and those against black sections
Formally seconded.
should be remitted for further
Then there's
consideration by a
Composite
working
51,
party.
we're
Let's
asking
take the
to
votes.
be remitted. Composite 52, we're asking to be remitted, and Resolution 43 as amended, we're also asking to be remitted. I'll take the NEC statement first. Those in favour of the NEC statement, please
This is
show.
a temporary statement, an interim statement, doing the pros and cons of
Any against?
the black sections,
Some against.
and further
Composite
consideration will be
51,
given. That
the
is
comrades
accepted.
Prepared to
Now,
remit it?
will they remit section 51, which is arguing for black sections?
Well, before we go any further, is anybody going to insist on a card vote? Because I'm not having this nonsense of after taking a vote, demanding a card vote. If you want a card vote, you better say now. Right. Card vote.
Well, they're going to have
14.
card votes on these
We've asked it to be remitted. And of
on
course,
these
the position is
resolutions. What
if
they're
they
having a
don't
card vote on
prepare to
now,
remit it, then
we'll, whether we're going to
NEC
stay for the
of
card
course
vote, I'm not
opposes it.
quite clear, but this is, well, we're probably going to have a discussion, I think, from our studio on the issues which are arising. Oh, well, hold on one moment. I'm not quite clear what we're going to do. These are the unexpected developments.
Clear the gangways, please, so the comrades can be as quick as possible. Please clear the gangways at the back so the comrades can get along as quick as possible. Now, they've asked you to get out of the way at the back, please. Well, I've got a number of announcements. One says, by popular demand, Labour Women's Action Committee and New Socialists present The Heroes, an everyday tale of Labour men. Satirical review tonight at 10 p.m, Park House Hotel, North Promenade. Also says at the Imperial tonight at midnight after... Anyway, that's what he says at midnight. The Fabian meeting, if you fancy a drink and a gossip, New Socialist. Well, I don't think I'll be there, I tell you. Where's this raffle? What is this?
Well, they're having a card vote,
Labour
and so
Club's
I better
reception tonight.
remind you what's happening at this debate on black sections in the Labour Party. They're voting on a section 51 of Resolution 51 to have black sections, that's a special areas in the constitutional bodies of the Labour Party for black people, voted for black people. By black, they mean black and brown. A lot of opposition to it from some black delegates, and very fierce and enthusiastic support for it also among black delegates. One suspects that the leadership of the party want to have further consideration, although Jo Richardson said she thought that if they wanted black sections, they ought to be able to have them. But of course, the question is not just whether they have a black section of a constituency management committee or the national executive, but how it should be elected, how many of them should be there. And shall they be by like the women's section and the youth member on the NEC or what? It's really an argument about one of the fundamental questions of society. Should you have positive discrimination to enable a minority to achieve some of the positions which they say they've been unable to achieve because of their being held back by reason of their skin colour? Several people came to the rostrum, black people came and said, I don't want to be patronised. I want to get there simply because I'm a good trade unionist or a good councillor and voted for on my merits. And that's why I joined the Labour Party, they said, because we're all equal no matter what the colour of our skin. And that's what the Labour Party is about. On the other hand, the people were saying, the others were saying, well, there are no black members of Parliament, there are no black members of the NEC. There it is, an all-white platform. And in the hall there's also very few black faces, though more than there have been in the past. And Eric Heffer is shouting away again on the platform. perpetual dialogue with the floor, does Eric, saying, what do you want me to do? And I want you to help me, and I'm going to throw myself upon your mercy. He's a funny old chairman, is Eric. Everyone quite likes him, but he doesn't get it right very often, and he got the rules completely wrong today and had to be corrected by two former chairmen of the party. Let's see what he's talking about now.
Actually, the way we've been going on, I didn't even know there was any standing orders.
The card vote is continuing. The card vote is on composite resolution 51, which a long resolution calling for black sections in the Labour Party. Doesn't quite as far as one of the other resolutions, which they'll be voting on in a moment, but it sets out the general principle for having black sections for black and brown people in the Labour Party. There's one of the speakers who was moved this resolution, a very eloquent young lady, and
right, okay.
She'll be waiting
now
anxiously to see what happens.
Composite 52.
Now we have a vote on Composite 52, which is a much stronger resolution and calls for 5
Card
black
vote
members
15.
in the NEC and for at least one black person to be included in all parliamentary and local government shortlists. Card vote 15, as they say. Each card vote takes about 10 minutes. So there's an awful lot of hanging about. One day they'll have heard of computers and calculators, I suppose, but they still carry on in the good old stagecoach tradition of the card vote. It takes up a long time of conference. Sometimes if they have half a dozen in a day, well, that's about an hour out of the precious few hours of a conference day. And needless to say, it's a long time for people like me to have to talk, because you'll probably much rather hear what's going on in the conference hall than me. But there's nothing going on in the conference hall for you to hear. So unless we play the organ, have the organ played, and I'd like to be beside the seaside, you've got to listen to me. There's the ballot box with the cards and the constituency votes and the trade union votes going in on this card vote. Usually a total of about 6 million or so, and each trade union has votes allotted to it according to its paid-up Labour Party membership. Incidentally, they don't have a card vote, they don't have a vote for the members who've gone out from membership of the Labour Party. They certify that their membership is Labour Party members, and that's the only membership they're allowed to count. Continual discussion about the proceedings with Eric Heffer, with the national agent, Mr. Hughes, on the right, and Jim Mortimer there on the left. I think that Eric Heffer's about to say something else. No, I'm wrong. He's just chatting with his colleagues. We'll just pause for a moment, in case you want to think, because I want to. A card vote, let's hear it.
On Composite 51, votes for 500,000, votes against 5,427,000. Total votes cast 5,927,000.
Well, there's a huge vote by this mainly white Labour Party conference to not to have black sections in the party, though to be absolutely fair, it's a vote which they really want to have it, they want to have it remitted to further discussion. That's what will happen. It won't be thrown away. It doesn't reject out of hand the idea of black sections. It doesn't pass it, and so what it does is to say that there will be discussion of the need for black sections and better black representation in the Labour Party discussed Jo Richardson and her working party. It wasn't a very strong resolution, but anyway, they voted against it because the mover wouldn't have it remitted. Now we're having another card vote, which is going on at the moment, and that's much stronger. Now, Peter Snow is in the Floral Hall, where everyone's milling around, talking about the day's proceedings. We don't know the result of this next card vote, but there's enough to be going on now, and Peter Snow's got some black delegates with him. Peter?
Well, now, while we're waiting for the result of that vote, Robin, I am joined by two people who spoke during this debate. Keith Vaz of Richmond and Barnes constituency, who wants to see black sections in the party, and Sardal Singh Marwar from Birmingham, who is against black sections. Now, Mr. Marwar, maybe first of all get it straight. Why do you think, if you don't want black sections, why do you think so many people are failing to come from the black community into the Labour Party?
Well, I don't think that is the case, really. There are enough black, well, not enough black
We've
people.
seen very few here at the
Yes.
conference.
Well, that's democracy. People don't vote for the candidates who want. But sometimes what happens is people who stand as candidates who come to the conferences, sometimes it's a black and white vote. If the black's not there on the GMCs, they don't get there. Well, that's the state of the democracy.
You heard Diane Abbott say very clearly there when she made that really very powerful speech in which she said those constituencies who have black sections have been recruiting quite successfully. Now, how do you respond to that?
Well, in my ward, if you're talking about specifically black sections, and membership on the Labour Party on my ward is 80%. 80% of those people, if that isn't black section...
I'm going to interrupt you because I do have the result of the card vote here, and I see that it's 500,000 for it, and overwhelmingly 5,427,000 against it. And that, of course, was on the card vote for Composite 51, which was for instituting black sections in the party and coming back next for a formal resolution on that. So you've won.
Yes, well, I'm delighted about the result. Obviously, the union's block vote came all against it, but that's what we expected when we came to the conference. What we do need in this party now is a mass recruitment by the NEC to set up a nationally committee, consultative committee, not just in London, not a working party by the white people, involve the black people in it. But how do you define black? Who is black? At the moment, black is defined by Afro-Caribbean, Indians, Pakistanis, and Bangladeshis. What about the Chinese?
Keith Vaz, how do you define black? Before you come to give your response to why you lost.
Well, it depends very much on the ethnicity of the particular areas. But predominantly black people in this country are African, Afro-Caribbean, and from India and Pakistan.
What about Turkish people? What about Arabs?
In Haringey, for example, they have chosen to describe themselves as black. So if you consider yourself to be black, then you are black, depending on where you live.
Now, how do you react to this massive defeat of your proposal for black sections?
I'm very pleased, because this is the first time that the debate has occurred at the conference, such a full debate, and I'm pleased that we have 500,000 votes in favour. I think when we come back next year, it will be much more than that. If I could comment on something the comrade has said, the National Working Party does consist of black and white people, and there is a consultative document which has been put out, and I think that constituency parties should respond to it. But this issue will be back at conference next year in Bournemouth.
Do you think having women's sections and youth sections in the party has actually helped with the recruiting of women, frankly, in the party?
Yes, I think it has. What it does is it raises the issue of women and young people and black people. It puts them on the political agenda where they haven't been for a while. You usually have black people put at the end of carefully worded resolutions.
But the black people, if they ever set up, I hope they're not, but if the black people are going to get these black, they're going to talk about only the black issue, but they're driving themselves away from the mainstream, the main issues of the socialists. If you're a socialist, you don't set up a section on racial grounds.
Quite a few of the people who are speaking against this suggestion were talking about things like apartheid in South Africa. Did you really mean that?
Yes, it is apartheid, because we go away from the mainstream. You're a Socialist Party, Labour Party is a Socialist Party. For heaven's sake, let's get in there and work with those socialists. Don't set up sections on racial ground. What about the Asian women? What about the Asian women? I mean, there's very few of them. Are you suggesting let's have an Asian women section?
If the comrade will hang on for a second, I'll explain.
Mr. Vaz?
You have black sections at the moment in existence, and they have resulted in greater recruitment of the party. And it does mean that black people can get together and organise. What we have at the moment is an apartheid system, because black people are excluded from the structure and the decision-making process of the party. change that, we are going to continue with our fight for black
Now,
sections.
I'm told that Composite 52 has also been defeated, and that, of course, was the Composite resolution that suggested there should be black places reserved on the National Executive Committee for black members. Now, how upset are you about that?
I'm not upset. I think it's important that it was discussed today. It will be discussed next year, and we have got a lot of support that we didn't think we had. A lot of the union delegations which voted against us said that they were mandated to vote against us because they didn't really know the issue. But this time, they've had a chance to discuss it, and when they can go back to their branches, they can actually say that these are the issues at stake.
I think it might help people to understand a bit more clearly what we're talking about. If you just tell us precisely what you want. What exactly is a black section at local level first?
A black section at local level is similar to a women's section. All the black people will get together in that section and organise. They will remain in the party. They can attend their branch meetings, but it will mean that there will be reserved places on GMCs.
Will they have separate meetings, or would they meet within the as if they were part of that? They are, of course, part of that.
Yes, they are part of the Labour Party structure, or they will be. They will have their own separate sectional meetings, and they will be able to take part in their branches and at GMC level.
Well,
and we have that at
anyway.
the moment.
They do that anyway. As I said, there's 80% of the membership of my ward are black or Asian. Isn't that a black section? There's only about 10 white people in there, but that is a black section, isn't it?
But if they choose to call themselves that,
No,
yes.
no ways. That's a Labour Party we're talking about. We're not talking about any other issues. Well, what about the youth of tomorrow? There's those people, the youth of here, my children are born here, so will be your children, right? Those children don't want any part of this nonsense. They want to work within the structure, and let's have it in this country.
I don't think the comrade can predict what children and grandchildren can think, those who haven't been born yet. But I think what's clear is that it's been a very important debate for the Labour Party. It's aired a number of grievances, and we go from here united in our determination to see the next Labour government returned. But in the meantime, continue to fight for black sections.
Well, isn't it a voluntary matter anyway? I mean, can't those who don't want to form black sections not form them? Why should you be so fussed about that? Can't GMCs that don't want black sections say no?
Yeah, well, obviously, but where are you going to have these black sections? Only in the constituency where there's the community.
Only if they want them.
Well, if they want them. If they want them, I still don't see it as a way forward. We're in 1984, as I said in my speech, not in 1884, to thinking about backward. We should be thinking of...
Now, can you just briefly be clear about the other thing you want, which is black places reserved on the National Executive Committee? Are you suggesting that these places should be filled by black people voted in by blacks? That, after all, doesn't happen in the case of women yet,
yes,
in the women's section.
And I think that the women's sections will have their way eventually, and we will get women who sit on the NEC elected by the Women's Conference. I think to start off with, it may be...
That's being debated tomorrow, I think, isn't it?
Right, yes. They've had a long struggle to get that debated, but I think that for the immediate future, it may be that the Conference elect 5 black delegates onto the NEC, but hopefully we will have them elected by the Black Conference.
Mr. Mara, a final word from you. Where do we go from here? Do you think this is the end of this issue?
Well, I
or do you
hope
think it's bound to raise its head as Keith
I
Vaz
hope
suggests?
this issue doesn't come back into the conference, but let's have more constructive ideas from these conferences how to fight racism, not apartheid.
Thank you both very much, and now back to you, Robin, in the hall.
If you don't agree with it, then you...
Well, here we are. Here we are back in the hall, and there's more confusion about a previous card vote over one of the internal matters, and we have to leave here. We won't know before we go off the air in a moment what the result of the vote on the resolution opposing black sections in the party, but there's been overwhelming votes against measures to introduce black sections, and you heard that very interesting but extremely friendly discussion which Peter Snow had with the two delegates. Well, this is Robin Day in Blackpool. We shall be back again tomorrow with our live coverage on BBC One at 9:15 a.m. with debates on privatisation and renationalisation, trade union laws and unemployment. A big debate tomorrow then, a big day tomorrow here at Blackpool in the Empress Ballroom of the Winter Gardens. This is Robin Day with Peter Snow at the 1984 Labour Party conference in Blackpool. Good night.
And this is BBC Two. In 5 minutes, Fred Dibner continues to put together his new steam engine and experiences a vision of heaven. First, we have the news summary from Ian